Hello and welcome to Champ Talk, May 3rd, new episode 7.
Is it episode 7 already?
Yeah, episode 7,
Dang, I gotta put this down.
week 7. So yeah, we're on a decent streak right now,
Dude.
keeping it alive. At least one more week in studio here at Newman, and yeah, it's better now. I can see your face. Keeping it alive. Hopefully, we got to figure out how we want to do it at home.
I know, it's
But we got at least one more Friday.
Yeah.
One more Friday.
Mm-hmm. I'm a little shocked it's already episode 7 though.
I know. It hasn't felt like that long, but
I know.
I mean, you think we started around mid-March?
Yeah, and then it's 7
Been
weeks
a month,
ago, right?
and it would have been 7 weeks ago. I mean, this was just a random idea, basically formulated off me and you. It wasn't a joke, but we had that class assignment
Yeah.
where we did the 10-minute podcast thing. We were like, damn, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, we could do this, Renzo. Let's go, like, just
Try
record it on recording in the studio. Then Sean convinced us to do this all on the radio. Yeah. So, but here we are. I mean, I think it's been a good couple weeks.
Yeah,
And
it's been fun.
good to round it out.
Makes my Fridays more exciting, so.
I mean, I was doing nothing on
Exactly.
Fridays. So.
Exactly.
Well, let's get started with some news from around the league.
Mm-hmm.
Rashee Rice to receive half-a-year suspension at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
That's what is expected at the moment. I mean, I didn't expect any less. I'd almost be surprised if he's playing next year. Another thing in the news, Nate Wiggins was the first rookie to sign was the first-round rookie to sign his contract, starting that escalate of rookie contracts. Another thing in the news was fifth-year options. Almost every fifth-year option from the 2021 first-rounders has been finalized, either accepted or denied. A couple of the big ones lately being Najee Harris getting his option declined, Penei Sewell getting his accepted, and then he got an extension.
Yeah.
I think one of the big shockers was Zach Wilson got his denied.
Good old Zach Wilson. I feel like.
So yeah,
Gotta love Zach Wilson.
I mean, this is the class of Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, who got his decline,
Yeah.
Mac Jones decline.
The only one
Trevor
that got
Lawrence was the
Trevor
only
Lawrence,
one.
right? Yeah.
Only quarterback. But we will see Kyle Pitts back for another year, Jamar Chase, Waddle. Who's the other Dolphins pick for this draft? Surtain picked up Smith, Parsons. So this was a really good class, but it was almost 50-50 on who got their
Fifth-year option pick.
fifth-year option picked up and who didn't. I mean, it was Jalen Phillips was the other Dolphins player. It almost shows you, like, yes, first-round picks have a high hit rate, but
Not all.
just
of them.
about
Yeah.
50% or a little bit over.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it also depends on like what situation they're going into and like what team and the coaching and the players surrounding them once they get there. But yeah, I feel like a lot of the time it's not always like the number one pick is obviously going to do great. And I think everyone knows that, but I feel like it's like you said, it's almost like 50-50. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot more than people think.
Forgot Kadarius Toney was a first-round pick in this draft.
He was?
Yes. He got his option declined.
Yeah,
if you
declined.
could have guessed. Another big piece in the news that I thought was pretty interesting, him coming off probably his best season in the last 3 years, Ezekiel Elliott going and signing with the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did a good job last year with the Patriots and showed he could still play. I think he got back in shape a little, and now he's back with the Cowboys, where I honestly think he'll slot in as the RB1.
Well, yeah, right now because there's nobody there.
No.
There's nobody in that running back room.
And they
So,
didn't
fill
even
that
pick
spot.
anybody, really.
Yeah, exactly.
No, they
So-
didn't even draft anyone.
No, so
Wow.
it's literally just Zeke and then the other no names. And I mean, you never know. One of the no names,
Dowdle.
yeah, can come out of nowhere. That happens a lot too.
Nah, I don't think any
But-
of them are that good.
Exactly. So I don't think it's really gonna happen, but who knows?
The biggest piece of news, I think, was I don't even know if it's news or rumors, but Justin Fields to return kickoffs in
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Teased by his special teams coach and one of the other players.
How do you think that would go?
I think he'd get hurt. I think they
he'd get
really
hurt.
just tried to destroy him on kickoffs.
Yeah, I think they just kill him.
I mean, I think he has the athleticism for it, but
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him run, but like I feel like kick returns and like quarterback
yeah.
like running is just like
so much different.
yeah, it's two totally different things. I mean, I'm not saying he'd be bad at it, but I'm also saying it's not a great idea. Is my point.
No, exactly. Like you got other guys who are just as fast.
Yeah, it's not like you don't have anybody. Why risk your? I know he's your backup right now, your backup quarterback. But like, why? Like, what's the point?
Oh, exactly.
Like, what's
especially
the
when
point?
he's like kind of your quarterback of the future in your plans.
Yeah,
doesn't make sense to me. Okay, now do you got any more?
No, I think you covered it all.
That was basically it. Was an insane week other than the draft, but we got a lot of draft talk coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Some draft reactions. I just put this basically down as, what are your thoughts about this year's draft? Looking at it as a total overall.
Are we talking first round or are we talking
just
overall?
Overall.
Okay, overall, I think a lot of teams got what they needed, but at the same time, I feel like there were some wild picks that just like you're like, what are you thinking? And maybe they know something we don't. Obviously we're not in the room. We don't know what they're talking about. We don't know what they really think they need. But like from a fan's perspective, you're just looking at it and you're like, that was the pick when
like
X, Y, and Z were still on the board.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, but I feel like at the same time, a lot of teams, filled a lot of gaps that they needed.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean that's what the draft is for, basically. But I don't know. I feel like it was good overall. I feel like there was a lot of talent. Like we said in the beginning, there was a lot of O-line talent, a lot of wide receiver talent, a lot of corner talent.
I mean, that's what I kind of had, loaded with confusing picks and a lot of disappointments at times, but also a lot of guys who can step in and make an immediate impact on both sides of the ball. And a lot of rookies we're going to see do that this year. And also a strong UDFA class. I thought there was a lot of guys out there who, like, you see how many undrafted free agents come out every year.
Yeah.
I think it'll be another good year of that. Basically, what I jotted down to my overall was deep class of talent, a lot of surprises, and lots of players falling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. A lot of players did fall.
It almost seemed like the poor kind of got their share, and then the rich just got richer. I mean, you saw the Eagles go and get 2 cornerbacks, basically the biggest weakness of their team, fill it right up with 2 guys who are going to be day one playmakers.
Yeah, 2 some of the top guys in the draft.
You got Baltimore going out and getting their biggest weakness, filling 2 corners who shouldn't have even been there.
Yeah.
And then you also got a team like the Lions who go and buff up their secondary. It's like nobody wanted secondary help except the teams that were already really good, and then that's the only position they needed. They just let them fall to them.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of wide receivers taken, deep wide receiver class. I think it's really good, especially dynasty-wise. It's going to be really interesting. A lot of guys like kind of snuck up my board or fell down my board based on draft location, but I mean that's what it comes down to. Just a lot of what?
What?
Like a lot of just like that happened. Like I don't know, but. Let's get into some of our favorite picks and least favorite picks from after round 1, because we kind of talked about round 1 already last week.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about round 1 anymore.
Some of our favorite picks. Do you want to start this off?
Yeah. I'll start us off with Roman Wilson to the Steelers, round 3, pick 84.
Yeah, that was steal.
Yeah, I love this pick just because, with Deontay Johnson gone, George Pickens is still there. He's obviously a dog. But now you're kind of like, who's that wide receiver too? I feel like Roman Wilson is going to fit in well here. Obviously, George Pickens, he's not a huge guy, but he's still he's still a force to be reckoned with. And I feel like a lot of defenses are going to like focus on him. And now you got Roman Wilson, who's kind of a sneaky receiver. He's not a big dude. He's on the smaller side, but he's still got a lot of talent.
Great slot guy.
Yeah, he's still got a lot of talent. Plus, you got Freiermuth there. I feel like Roman Wilson is just kind of like a little dagger in this offense that Russ can use, and I feel like it's going to be very beneficial. And like you said, I feel like he could have an impact early on.
Oh, yeah, day one impact. I think he's going to beat out Calvin Austin, who kind of made some plays last year as their slot receiver. I think he might have to go more to the outside if he wants to see time, Austin being. But, yeah, not a lot of competition in that wide receiver room. I felt like there was no way he was going to fall that far, and then he did. So it kind of shocked me.
Yeah, I know. And I didn't think he was going to fall that far either, but I feel like when you're the Steelers and you're looking at that board, I feel like Roman Wilson was one of the best picks there, and I think they capitalized on
easily. The next guy I kind of want to talk about is, it might be the homer in me. It might be the social media clips that came out, but Javon Baker in the fourth round to the Patriots, wide receiver. The guy, he's hilarious, one. I think he was a good talent where he's taken. I think he could have been a third-round pick, but he is hilarious at the same time. He goes, some of his quotes lately, have you seen them?
I think I did.
He's like, I'm so exciting. I make people in wheelchairs get out of their seats.
Yeah.
Bring your popcorn. That's what it was. Bring your popcorn. So I make people in wheelchairs get out of their seats.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of headlines, and you already see him getting to work. He really is one of those guys who can get over the middle of the field, use his IQ to sit into zones, and has very strong hands. He kind of reminds me of how Puka plays in how he played in the NFL, rather than how he played in the in college. So I feel like this is kind of a encouraging pick to pair with the other wide receiver they got earlier in the draft, Polk, and
yeah, I like Polk.
Really give some wide receiver help to Drake May, the quarterback of the future.
Mm-hmm. I like what they did. I like that they pulled in, obviously, their new franchise, or what they hope to be their new franchise quarterback, and then added Polk and now Baker. I feel like I like what they did because their wide receiver, those were the two positions I feel like they really needed to build upon, was that quarterback and then who they're throwing it to.
Yeah, and then the O-line a little, which they later got in the draft too.
So I feel like they definitely plugged a lot of holes with this draft.
Yeah, exactly. They're just going to have a lot of mediocre wide receivers when it starts. I think they just cut Juju at some point.
I hope so. I don't like Juju.
He just wasn't a fit. He wasn't very good, and he wasn't a fit.
I don't know how he's still in the league, honestly.
He's good enough to be in the league, but
yeah, but
he has to fit on the team.
How old is he?
26, 7. Juju? He's not old. He was like 20, 21 when he got drafted.
27, yeah.
He had a really good season in Kansas City. I think he could go back to Kansas City if he was to be cut.
He did really well when he was on the Steelers for a while.
Yeah, and then he had a good season with the Chiefs. He's just not a wide receiver one.
Yeah.
And he gets caught up way too much in the media aspect of it instead of focusing on the game. Okay, I want to redirect us to one of my least favorite picks in the draft, and not about the player as much as the landing spot. Blake Corum.
Yeah.
He ties in later with one of my other points, but Corum to the Rams, I don't know. I was like, you're ruining everything for me. You're ruining my belief in Kyren Williams and how I want him to become an RB1 this year.
I wanted him to be a workhorse.
Yeah, but with Corum, I don't know about that as much. And then I just thought there was some other places that Corum could have landed that would have been so much better for him. Mm-hmm. Now he has to compete for that slot versus a guy who still has 2 years left on his contract. Maybe this shows something for LA, what they're planning in the future. But I don't know. I just didn't really get the pick.
Yeah,
it's on the Chargers. They should have taken him in the third round. Junior Colson, who they got in the third round, was too good of a prospect to pass up there. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I wanted to see a trade up or something from the Chargers to go get him.
Yeah, you've been saying that because of Harbaugh the whole time, and I agreed with you because it totally made sense. And plus, the Chargers are kind of they just signed J.K., but they also pulled over Gus Edwards, right? I think.
Yeah, Edwards and Dobbins.
Yeah, so they filled up the running back room, but I feel like
could have got more talent. Those are just two Greg Roman guys.
Mm-hmm. And basically, plus, with Dobbins' injuries
waiting to happen.
Yeah, and then Edwards he's not bad.
They're both just kind of guys.
Yeah.
They're both Greg Roman guys who came from Baltimore, drafted by him, and he believes in them. I think we could maybe see some vintage J.K. Dobbins the 1 year he was actually playing.
It would be cool.
How good he did.
Yeah.
and then see Gus Edwards steal all those touchdowns.
Yeah,
But
probably.
that LA backfield is going to be a headache all year that I just
Absolutely.
don't want a part of.
Yeah, I'm not really drafting anybody in that because it just doesn't make any sense. If Blake Corum went there, maybe, but I feel like Corum would have fit in well. I feel like he would have had the opportunity to become that RB1.
And then another name I just want to throw out there quick that I think fits the quorum is Marshawn Lloyd. He drafted in the 3rd round to the Green Bay Packers. I just don't get why the Packers need a 3rd round running back right here.
Yeah.
I know they're going to move off Dillon next year, but it feels like a lot to invest this year into running backs who you can usually just plug and play from year 1 or 2. I didn't get that, especially with signing Jacobs. I mean, I feel like it could have been better used elsewhere. There's some really good guys still left on the board when when Lloyd was drafted. I don't know. That's just me personally, but
yeah, I get that.
do you have anybody else you want to talk about?
Are we talking good or bad here?
Whatever you want to do.
We can go back to the good here. I kind of like this pick. It's maybe not like my most favorite pick, but I still like it. And we talked about it a little bit too. Spencer Rattler to the Saints, round 5, pick 150.
I think it's the perfect fit for him.
I like it there. Like you've talked about all the time, having rookie quarterbacks a couple years to kind of learn and kind of gradually get their start in the NFL. I hate Derek Carr, but Derek Carr is there.
I mean, I don't like Spencer Rattler either.
Yeah,
so
I don't.
It's perfect.
Yeah, like they kind of go hand in hand, but you never know. I mean, maybe Spencer can, because we've seen some flashes of real talent from him.
His freshman year was low-key very special, and he fell off very quickly after that, so you don't know if the defense had just learned him or something. But he has shown promise, and there's a reason why he was a highly touted prospect for so many years. I mean, I'm not saying, like, I'm ready to buy in on him, but it wouldn't be, I wouldn't be totally like, oh, whoa, how did, like, totally if he ended up coming in and being a starting quarterback in 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked because we've seen the flashes of talent from him, and I honestly I watched some highlights of him in college, and obviously highlights aren't everything, but I watched some highlights in college, and I'm like, damn.
His highlights are very good,
yeah,
and his low moments are very bad.
Yeah, so it's very inconsistent. But I was watching his highlights, and then I also saw some JJ McCarthy highlights, and they were honestly, like I said, highlights aren't everything. But watching Spencer Rattler throw the ball, watching JJ McCarthy throw the ball, Spencer Rattler is better at throwing the ball than JJ McCarthy.
His best throws are way better than JJ's best throws. The JJ, it's literally they were saying, who was it? McCarron. Do you remember the old Cincinnati backup quarterback, A.J. McCarron?
No.
He played for Alabama. But basically, they were like, if A.J. McCarron was a draft prospect now, he'd be drafted in the 1st round just because he won a national championship.
Yeah.
And they would be like, his leadership qualities is and he's a decent prospect, but no way 1st round pick.
Mm-hmm. I just feel like JJ, I was watching all these clips, and I'm seeing the receiver make some crazy body movements, in midair. He's got to reach around the defender. If it was a good ball, he wouldn't have to move.
Yeah.
He'd have to keep running. In pace, right in the breadbasket. But all these throws are behind him or whatever.
He's the
it
least
is.
accurate deep ball quarterback.
Yeah, and I just
out
don't
of
get
all
it.
the top prospects this year.
I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying JJ's bad.
Exactly.
But I just. Like I said, I'm just basing this off of a couple highlights, but I've also seen it not just in highlights, in games too. But I mean, whatever.
I mean, two more picks I just want to kind of throw out there quick was TJ Tampa. He fell way too far for the talent he is.
Yeah.
And then Cooper DeJean also fell way too far. He's gonna fit in perfectly with the Eagles and even slot into safety if needed. And then the guy I kind of want to talk about a little more at the quarterback position, who I thought was a very good pick and landed in the perfect spot, was Jordan Travis, right behind Aaron Rodgers. I thought he would have came in as a better prospect than Spencer Rattler if he didn't get hurt. But he led that Florida State team to a remarkable season, 12-0 before he got hurt, really leading it on his arm. And then he ends up getting to sit behind Rodgers for what I'm guessing is at least 2 years.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
minimum.
this is the perfect pick
Mm-hmm.
for the Jets. He showed flashes, so I love that pick there. I just want to throw that out
No,
there.
yeah, I agree with
But
that.
I feel like this is a perfect landing spot for him, and the place he'll really get to learn. I mean, we've seen it with Love. Rodgers did show Love a lot because Love basically throws exactly like him now.
Yeah, and Love is becoming a franchise quarterback. He's becoming one of
Yeah.
those guys who,
I mean, one of the guys that we both harp on
yeah,
over and over again that we really like and
yeah, he's super underrated.
see him growing.
Yeah,
So.
and the Packers, I'm sure they're happy to have Love, and now the same, like you said, the same thing with Jordan Travis with the Aaron Rodgers situation. I think it's a good. I think you're right. I think it's a perfect pick for the Jets here.
And he's a guy maybe I look at very late in a dynasty draft.
Yeah.
Like last round.
Yeah.
Depending on how many rounds you do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be it for this segment of Chant Talk. We're going to be back after the break. Stay tuned. You're listening to 98.5 WNUW LPS. And welcome back, 98.5. We're going to talk a little dynasty winners, losers, both fantasy and dynasty for current players and rookies.
Mm-hmm.
Just overall kind of talk about who we thought came out of the draft looking a little more hurt on their value or maybe got their value boosted a little because of who was or wasn't taken. So start off, I just want to put a clear winner out there, somebody who fell into a great spot to make an immediate impact from the second round, Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to throw Bryce Young in there too because getting Brooks, getting an O lineman, and getting Sanders really helped him in the draft. Got a real tight end, running back who highly prospected as the best running back in this draft.
Yeah.
And I think this puts Brooks in a place to instantly succeed and get a large number of touches due to their kind of inability to trust who they currently have.
Like you said, inability to trust who they currently have, which is Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders right now. Two guys who I'm not too high on. I feel like having a rookie come in as Jonathan Brooks with his talent, I feel like you said, he's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get a lot of attempts. And on an offense that obviously didn't do too well last year. Now Bryce Young is kind of going into his sophomore year. Maybe he'll take a big leap forward. Maybe he won't. But I feel like having this new rookie running back coming in with a couple new wide receivers, maybe they maybe he makes a splash, And I feel like as him being a winner, that makes, like I said, Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders big losers in this draft.
Well, I didn't even have them listed as losers because honestly, I didn't even have them as guys I wanted in fantasy.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Okay. And then I also forgot they got Leggett too. So they brought in a new wide receiver, running back, and tight end, all to kind of reinforce that offense with Bryce. And then also you get a new coach, hopefully, who can help Bryce Young kind of step into that role a bit better. I mean, I thought a lot of Bryce Young's inability to have success last year really came off of who was around him. I mean, you gave him only one good receiver, and his O-line was kind of horrible. So based on the moves they made in this draft, and then also throughout free agency, I think he's put in a spot to succeed, and so is Jonathan Brooks, and landing on a team that actually really needed him, instead of like some of these other second-round running backs who we see fall onto teams where they're going to be the backup for a couple of years, which we do not like for Dynasty.
Moving on to another winner, I have Keon Coleman with the Buffalo Bills. He was taken the first pick in the second round. I think he's going to be extremely dominant in this Bills offense, who loves throwing the ball. Obviously, with Josh Allen back there, you have James Cook. James Cook is great, but they also love throwing the ball to James Cook. So, I mean, in general, we all see it. Josh Allen loves slinging the rock. Obviously, Diggs is gone. Gabe Davis is gone. They brought in now Keon Coleman, who could be the wide receiver one. I think he probably will be. Right, with Curtis Samuel at wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
I like Curtis Samuel too as well. I mean, he took a bit of a hit on the draft board with Keon Coleman coming in,
But not really. Like,
yeah, but
I
not
think
really,
we already
'cause-
kind of slotted him in as a wide receiver too for
Yeah,
this upcoming
exactly.
season.
Exactly. That's why
So-
I'm not really that concerned on him at all.
Yeah.
But I feel like
I think
Keon
he'll
Coleman's
actually
a
be
big
a
winner.
pleasant surprise if you can pick him up later in drafts.
Yeah.
I think if you're drafting now, he'll be further down the board.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you get closer to the season, he'll kind of rise up that. So if you're drafting earlier, he's definitely a guy to go steal late in the draft, kind of almost like Adam Thielen was last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, staying on the Buffalo Bills, I think we had some other clear guys. I think Dalton Kincaid really won this.
Mm-hmm.
Because they brought in Coleman, but really Kincaid steps in as that kind of second or third option in that Buffalo Bills offense. So I think he's a clear winner on this. He kind of cements his spot as somebody who did really good last year and will keep his spot. I think maybe James Cook takes a little bit of a hit with the Buffalo Bills going and getting a 4th-round running back, but I don't think anything insane. I think the only guy you really got to worry about at all is Josh Allen, but I think his talent just kind of pushes past his younger and more inexperienced wide receivers.
Yeah.
They'll all be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
really just wanted to highlight Kincaid in that. I think he could be a very undervalued pick this year, even with Knox still there.
Yeah. I'm gonna move on to another winner here. I got Kyler Murray here as a winner.
Kyler?
Yeah, just mainly because of Marvin.
Because he got Marvin Harrison. Yeah.
Yeah, mainly because of Marvin. I mean,
And they got Trey Benton, the running back out of Florida State, who I thought was the second best running back in the draft. I mean, he's another guy who showed some impressive flashes at Florida State.
mhm.
I think this is another guy who could come in and help that team. As long as he's getting some more O-line help, maybe down the road help, but they got some guys. Christian Jones and both Isaiah Adams are highly prospected guys who they kind of got late who could fill in and be good O-tackle prospects down the road.
Mhm.
Sorry
But,
to cut you off.
No,
So
you're good.
Back to Marvin.
No, it totally made sense. But Kyler Murray, I feel like now he's got Marvin. He had Trey McBride, who stepped up last year. But now you have Marvin, Trey, and James Conner, who's still there, plus that running back that they just drafted. I totally forgot the name, but you just said him. Trey. And I feel like this slowly could become an offense that's, worth looking at because last year they didn't really have they had Marquise last year.
Well, yeah, last year they had Marquise, they had Rondale Moore.
Yeah,
but
it
I
just
think the biggest difference is that you just get a
wasn't there.
full year of Kyler healthy. He's
Mhm.
not coming off an ACL injury.
Mhm.
And honestly, I like Kyler Murray. I think he's a good quarterback. And I think year after year, he kind of has to prove it again that he's better than some of these other quarterbacks where I think it's almost like given at this point that he is.
Yeah, and plus we know he can run the ball, which gets you a lot of points in Dynasty and Fantasy.
Exactly.
So, and we know he could throw it too. So, obviously, I think he's a good pick. Maybe not too high, but compared to some of these other quarterbacks.
I still think he's above some of these other quarterbacks
Yeah.
in the draft. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
he's not in obviously the elite tier with.
No,
Josh
but I think he's in
Allen,
that
Mahomes,
tier
and
under,
Hurts.
and I think that's where he's
Yeah.
been.
I think he's
so.
around tier 2, tier 3. I think he's right. in
Going
that
from
area.
one quarterback to another. I'm gonna put this out there. Let's go back on what I said, but I think Justin Herbert's a winner of this draft.
Okay.
Looking at fantasy wise, I mean he gets more O-line help and he gets 2 highly prospected wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
One of them which fell in the draft, but I think McConkey's gonna fit in perfectly there. McConkey's gonna be a huge guy to look at in this upcoming season for your regular drafts and really look at for dynasty drafts. I think he cemented himself as a first-round pick. But getting more O-line help, gonna have more consistent time, more consistent run game, and then also getting those 2 wide receivers who I think are actually very much steals in this draft. I thought both McConkey's where he should have got drafted, but Brendan Rice, getting him in the 7th round as a guy who was a top 90 projected pick, and then also getting another wide receiver late who has great frame. Yeah, I think they did a good job just building out this offense to give Herbert maybe some younger targets, but at least they'll play unlike Mike Williams, and at least they might be able to catch unlike Johnston. I mean, I think they still hope Johnston can come around. First year, you're hoping for that sophomore year bump,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I thought he actually won the draft. I thought they did a good job filling around him.
I mean, they still have a. Did they draft a tight end? Because they still have a hole there at the tight end position.
No.
But I think you're right. I think they did fill that much needed wide receiver role. Obviously, like we talked about before, they have J.K. Dobbins. They have J.K. Dobbins. They have Edwards.
Yeah.
But now then plus they drafted Joe Alt. So they have the O-line help.
They signed Will Dissly over the summer.
The tight end?
Or over the
free agency?
Yeah, I like Dissly.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be good. He's better than Everett, who they had in years past. So I think you honestly got – it's not the best receiving core, but you do got McConkey, Johnson, Palmer, DJ Chark, Brendan Rice. Like, it filled out a little more than we originally thought.
And
so
Brendan Rice, I don't know how he fell to the 7th. Just with the name alone.
Even with – yeah. I think maybe teams got scared that he was over-prospected just because of the name. But I thought he showed that he could play. I thought at minimum he showed he was a 4th-round pick.
Yeah. I don't know how
5th-round pick maybe, but him falling to the 7th is kind of crazy.
It's great for
especially
the
with his frame. So
and his upside's going to be great. So.
Yeah. So, segue a little. I had 2 more guys I wanted to mention. I thought Darnell Mooney was a winner of this draft because they brought in no new wide receiver talent, especially with the 8th pick kind of looming that they could go wide receiver.
Yeah.
He's a winner just because less competition. He'll come in as probably the 3rd target for that team. And then another guy was Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots, bringing in no other running backs, really having they have backups. They have a backup in Gibson, but him as the clear favorite to showcase that lineup again.
I think the same thing with Zach Moss on the Bengals. They didn't really bring anyone in. Zach Moss.
Locking him in as the RB1.
Yeah, so keeping him there, keeping him in that position, I feel like it's a great thing for Zach Moss and Stevenson. I feel like both of these guys are finally establishing themselves as the RB1. Not really. Obviously, they're not going to take every rep, every carry, but
Stevenson might. He's a dog.
Yeah, he is. But still, I feel like both of them solidifying themselves as RB1s are going to be good for Dynasty and Fantasy. So.
And then I want to segue to a loser real quick. I think Devon Achane comes out of this as one of the bigger losers of the draft. Due to the fact that they picked another running back who is very similar to him. With the fourth round pick, they took Jalen Wright, who had the second fastest 40-yard dash time, and he's a little bigger, and he's pretty good with the ball in his hands catching the ball. I don't know what I was saying there. He's pretty good at catching the ball, so I don't know if this is more of a. I think this is more of a Mostert substitution, but I don't know. It kind of worries me about Achane's current value, and I think they could almost go a three running back system.
Because honestly, they did like Achane and Mostert. Like everyone saw it. Both of them were like RB1 value.
Yeah,
and I feel like you said, adding that third kind of leg is going to be.
And there was already some concern about
Achane with his injuries.
And then also could they both replicate that for this season?
Yeah.
And could you really have 2 running backs supported by one offense? With a worsening O-line.
Yeah. It just, I don't really.
It's not that I'm dropping Achane off my team or off my list, or I think that he's not worth a dynasty pick anymore. It's just he's falling down my board a little and falling out of my top 10 probably.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do you want to talk about another loser, or do you want me to scoop up one more?
Yeah, keep going.
I think Bowers and Mayer are big losers. I know we talked about this last week, but basically crowding up that tight end room. And yes, you could use both of them, but I feel like it's very concerning when you pick a guy 13th overall when you just picked a guy in the top 40 the year before. I don't know if this is more a hit on Mayers and Bowers is just going to take over that role or what, but I don't know. This kind of concerned me.
I was annoyed that Brock went
I was
to
too.
the
I wanted
Raiders.
him to go to the Colts.
I wanted him to go to the Colts, maybe the Jets.
Any other team.
Yeah, really anyone who needed a tight end. Just because I wanted to see this kid, like, thrive in the NFL. I wanted to see him become, like, almost like a Sam Laporta type guy, you know, who's just going to dominate
Year
right off the
one.
bat. That's what I wanted to see, and now that's not. I mean, it still could
It's possible,
happen.
but it's kind of
Yeah, the chances just skyrocketed down.
Yeah.
Like they just plummeted, and I feel like you said, Colts, Jets, anywhere else, I feel like he could have made a more immediate impact and a more dominant.
I don't even know if it's that he's not going to make an immediate impact, but it's almost like his value isn't as significant because he has that other threat, and Mayer kind of goes right to the pooper.
Yeah.
Let's both wrap it up with one more loser each. I'll tackle it first. I think Gabe Davis is a humongous loser from this, and also the New England wide receivers, both for the same reason, just more crowded, more guys taking reps, and more of the guys already there just falling down the depth chart, both for New England and Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is probably the wide receiver 3 now, which he came in as probably the 2. So it's kind of cause for concern for Gabe Davis and all the other New England wide receivers. And Gabe Davis and all the New England wide receivers are already on my do not draft list, but now they are locked on that.
I got a loser here. I'm not sure. Like, I like him as a rookie, but I just don't love where he ended up. Was Adonai Mitchell?
Who?
Adonai Mitchell.
I kind of liked where he ended up.
I'm not sure because, like,
I mean, this guy was a first-round talent.
Yeah, and he ended up going in the second round, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just behind Pittman and Downs. I'm not sure.
I think
maybe
he'll probably
he could
be
step
above
up
Downs.
Yeah, maybe he could step up above Downs. But right now, I feel like. Plus, I mean, I like Richardson. I love Richardson actually. I think
but I don't know how much
better.
of a gunslinger he is.
Exactly. So
high volume of targets and throws.
Exactly. I don't know how much he'll be throwing the ball with Jonathan Taylor still there, and I think they're high on Jonathan Taylor right now. So I mean, we know Pittman's going to get his fair share of targets. Plus, Adonai Mitchell now has to beat out Josh Downs. I mean, Alec Pierce is there too, but
he's kind of just thrown to the side now.
Yeah.
I think Mitchell, they just thought was too good of a value there not to take.
Yeah, I don't mind
the only concern with Mitchell is that of his diabetes and him not being able to, unless he's perfectly controlling it. Apparently, he gets bad mood swings, and at times is almost uncoachable. That was the big concern with him.
Dang.
But he seems excited to get there, and Colts seem excited to have him. So, we're going to take another break and then come back with some Dynasty rookie draft rankings, talking about the impactful players from year 1 and then some of the sleeper players that can make long-term impacts. You're listening to 98.5 WNUW. And welcome back. We're going to talk about some Dynasty rookie draft rankings, some players we think are going to make impacts right off the bat that you should target at any point in your mock draft, and then some long-term guys who we think at the end of your draft will be perfect guys to pick and stow away for a couple of years, because when they get their chance, they are going to be electric.
Yeah, just guys you're gonna buy in on earlier than others, and you're gonna be like, I told you so.
And maybe they're not like your first or second round draft pick, because you want those guys to be your immediate impact guys. These guys will probably be your third, fourth, fifth, how many rounds you guys do. And by the time they actually get their chance to start, they will be very productive guys who we called it now. And you guys will probably forget that we did, but
it's on record. We have cameras. We have recordings.
It'll be on here.
Yeah.
4 years ago. Nah, just kidding. So, player that we already talked about, a couple players that we already talked about. I'm just going to run through them quick for me.
Go for it.
Jonathan Brooks, Ladd McConkey, Roman Wilson, Jatavion Sanders. So the two guys out of Carolina, the Chargers, and then the Steelers. I think all 4 of these guys have immediate impact potential just off of the fact of opportunity alone and lack of competition. All 4 of those guys are, one, I think really good players, especially Brooks and McConkey. I think they're going to step in immediately, and they should be mid first-round picks this year, and just have the potential to really take over fantasy. McConkey and Brooks, that is. And I think Roman Williams and Sanders will be very undervalued, where you could get them in maybe the second or third round, and they'll be first-round production for you.
Right. I like all those names. Obviously, we know that they're going into teams that needed to be like they're filling roles that needed to be filled on these teams, and like you said, I feel like they're just going to be an immediate impact. All these guys got great talent. All these guys are obviously young, and drafting them in Dynasty is going to be very beneficial in the long run, not only for this year or what we think will be this year, but for years to come. I think these guys are just going to have long-lasting impacts on these teams.
Yeah, and then one more I want to throw out there is Keon Coleman. I think he fits in right with McConkey and Jonathan Brooks. I think he's right below those two, but he's another guy who opportunity and talent equals production year one.
Yeah, and you said Worthy, right?
Who?
Worthy?
No, I did not say Worthy. I thought Worthy was kind of a given.
Yeah.
But
Worthy going to the Chiefs as the wide receiver.
A lot of people have him as the locked-in wide receiver 4 now, kind of in that 5, 6, 7 tier like we talked about last week.
I mean, I feel like the fact that he's just with Patrick Mahomes
alone
is
and lack of competition as well.
Yeah, like it's kind of you're going to the best quarterback in the league with a wide receiver room that's barely filled, and you're coming in as a speedster with great hands and great catching abilities, and I feel like it's like the stars align for the Chiefs here.
Oh, yeah.
Grabbing Xavier Worthy here, so
it is like destiny.
Yeah, so I feel like
this is density.
I feel like Xavier Worthy here, like you said, is a given to be a winner.
Yeah. Another guy I kind of want to talk about before we get into all the other players is Tyrone Tracy Jr. Sorry. Okay. I was trying to find his name. Tyrone Tracy Jr. I'm really struggling right now.
To the Giants?
The Giants running back who was a wide receiver last year or 2 years ago.
Was he really?
And transitioned to running back in this most recent year. They said he might have some problems with the vision off the bat, but I think this is a guy who could have an immediate impact, especially where right now he's ranked as the RB14 and 43rd in Fantasy Pros Dynasty draft, where I think he's easily much better than this and should be much higher based on opportunity alone. I think he could be one of those guys that you get late that just comes in immediately. He's a receiving back, played receiver, of course, and he really just has that ability to run with the ball after the catch. I mean, I hope most guys do, but he's a great yak guy, yards after carry, and he'll fit in with that Giants offense that is looking for more targets. And a Giants offense that's looking for another running back. I mean, to pair him with Singletary, I think this is a guy in no way should be this low on draft boards and will be a steal if anybody gets him in the third.
The thing is, I think people are higher on Singletary than they should be. I think
Singletary's decent, but he's not a workhorse guy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I feel like he's like, we saw him on the Texans, he did well. We saw him on the Bills, he did well. And I think he's going to do fine here. And I think, like you said, having someone else here to just kind of...
And the receiving back part is perfect. Yeah. Like, that works perfectly off what Singletary is.
Yeah, because also they need to, like, Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones, you know? And I feel like a lot of checkdowns are going to be thrown. Yeah, a lot of checkdowns might be thrown to him or slant route, whatever it is, you know? I feel like having this guy here as basically a hybrid running back to wide receiver type of guy is going to be huge for this offense.
Yeah. Do you have any other guys who you think are impactful year one players? I mean, I kind of left out the givens that we talked about last week. And Harrison, Neighbors, Dunze, Williams, Bowers.
One that you didn't really cover, and this could be, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure he's going to make a huge impact,
but you'll feel him in year one, and then especially feel him down the road.
I think right now, I feel like Brian Thomas Jr. to the Jaguars.
He was one of the guys who I'm not sure how I feel about it, because he has all the potential in the world.
Yeah, and I mean, Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram are still there, so like he still has some competition, but I feel like we see it a lot of times, and I talk about it a lot, like wide receivers offsetting each other. Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. is this big dude, and Christian Kirk is like this. Not tiny, but like compared to other receivers, he's like a smaller guy, and
Yeah,
feel
he'll
like
definitely be that outside receiver.
Yeah, and I feel like Brian Thomas Jr., who's great at contested catches and just getting up there and deep routes. I feel like Brian Thomas Jr. is a big guy for this, and maybe not. He he won't be like a top 15 wide receiver. At least I don't think. But I think he'll still make an impact on the team and maybe down the line, especially.
I definitely think he's one of those guys who is worth an end of the round pick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost leaning McConkey over him, especially in redraft leagues. I'm definitely leading McConkey over him.
I can see that for sure.
But I don't know. I think he's very talented and a little bit of crowded offense, but with Calvin Ridley there, Kirk last year, all of them, Trevor Lawrence fed that offense, and I think Trevor Lawrence is bound to take another step this year in an even better direction and finally hit that breakout that we were all really waiting to see from Trevor Lawrence.
I feel like this could be the year.
I do too. But Brian Thomas Jr. definitely has all the potential if he can really learn and then play into the Jacksonville offense. But he will be out there a lot.
I hope so, because I like him.
I
like him.
Gabe
I like him at
Davis,
LSU.
Him, Gabe Davis, and Kirk are all very different types of wide receivers. And I don't know. This is kind of the guy where I'm like, I think he might be a little overvalued in drafts, but not by anything really.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I definitely see him having some type of play this year, some type of role on that team, and him putting up some decent points. So I agree. Then any more guys you think, like right now, you want a piece because you think he could put up some serious points?
Let me look.
I had some more long-term guys. I had one, like, I think Troy Franklin could be a guy who kind of surprises.
The Broncos wide receiver?
Yeah, in a Broncos team that needs wide receivers, pair with Cortland Sutton. I think another guy like that is Jalen Polk for the Patriots. I think he could come in and find a good role on that team. I think this is a pretty deep draft for rookies this year. I think there's a lot of wide receiver talent. It's just if you want running back talent, this was not the draft for you, especially with Corum going to the Rams and Lloyd going to the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah. How do you feel?
Not a lot of teams fell. Not a lot of players fell in place where they could be immediate impacts for the running back position. Even Trey Benson with Arizona.
How do you feel about Luke McCaffrey to the Commanders?
So Luke McCaffrey was one of the guys I actually had in the long-term plays. He was my top guy, the first guy I wrote. I'm very excited to see how he plays out. I think he could step in and be the wide receivers 3 instantly, the slot guy, because they need a slot receiver filling Samuel's shoes.
Yeah.
But he's one of the guys who very much interests me. I mean, he comes from the McCaffrey family.
Yeah, that name alone is gonna up him.
But I actually think in his own right, he is very good. He's a very good and crafty slot receiver. And I had him as one of my long-term. Should we just segue into the long-term plays right now?
Yeah.
Okay. He's one of the guys who I think this year I think he could have a role, but in the next couple of years, I think he could become very good and form a very good bond with Jaden Daniels. I combined his name. So yeah, he's one of my long-term plays that I'm very excited for. I think I'll try to be grabbing him. He's lower. He's very low. He's the wide receiver 18.
Yeah.
Under other guys who I'm just like, I think he's better than, or he's gonna have more opportunity than.
But that's kind of nice because he might fall a little further than everyone else.
Yeah. So he's one of the guys who I think long-term, I think he's a little bit better than Taxi Squad first year long-term.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
he's one of the guys I'm very excited for, just in terms of I think he found a good fit and a place he could play right away. I think the same with Malachi Corley. I think he fell to the perfect place with the New York Jets. He'll be another guy who fits into that slot role, playing between Wilson and Williams. And we'll be able to just go on and make a day one impact, but make a day one impact, but you're really going to feel his impact over the course of a couple of years.
I just going back to McCaffrey real quick. I like the fact that he's a wide receiver like 3 here behind McLaurin and Dotson.
Yeah.
You still have Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler there too. So obviously this offense is kind of sneaky good.
Yeah, it is.
But the thing is, it's like Luke McCaffrey. They're not expecting much from him. So that kind of, it's like they're not relying on McCaffrey here at all. which kind of means like he doesn't have the pressure. He doesn't need to be the all-star right away. And I feel like with that, like that kind of takes pressure off him. And with that, he could be kind of a sneaky wide receiver 3 here for the Commanders, because they're going to be looking at McLaurin and Dotson and Ertz and Eckler, and next thing you know, McCaffrey, he's down the field or wherever he is, And I feel like, like you said, long term, I think he's going to be here for a while, and I think him and Jaden Daniels starting both as rookies, both starting same time, they're only going to get better, and they're only going to grow together. Yeah. And I feel like over time this could be an electric connection.
McCaffrey's low key bigger than I thought.
How big is he?
He's 6'2", 200.
Oh yeah.
And he's pretty fast, and he has very sure hands, and he's very good out of the slot. I think he could be a very undervalued pick in this draft, and you really feel the impact a couple years down the road, like we were saying. Okay, I got another guy. This is a guy who I really think he will not put up great numbers this year just based on competition at the position, but Jared Wiley. He's coming in at the tight end 7 he was the Kansas City drafted tight end this year, but he fits in perfectly to become the prodigy of
Kelsey.
Yep. He was the what number tight end? I don't know. He was like the 6 wide tight end taken off the board, but his basic analysis is he catches passes in stride and has the ability to break tackles after the catch. He has the speed to make plays down the seam, and he's effective working out of the slot. I mean, 6'6", 250. The guy sounds exactly like what would fit in perfectly with the Chiefs. I mean, I still think Kelsey has a couple more years on him and isn't looking to retire now, but he's the perfect guy to take in the later rounds, throw in your taxi for a couple of years, and watch him really grow into a very good tight end.
Yeah, I could see that, and especially like a lot of quarterbacks do. They learn behind the players in front of them.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to learn behind anybody at the tight end position,
you want to learn behind Kelsey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I feel like you said, throw him on the taxi, let him learn, let him grow. Once Kelsey retires or whenever that may be or whatever he's done, I feel like this guy could just not maybe, I don't know if he'll ever become the same as Travis Kelsey. Obviously that's a big name to live up to. But I feel like if anyone's got a good chance of doing it, it's going to be him.
Yeah, I do too. And then another guy who I kind of think is in that same idea as him is Cade Stover. He's the Texans tight end, drafted around the same point as Wiley. Yeah, Wiley. Billy. He's another guy who I think has the potential after Schultz is gone to really step in and be a great guy. He's more of a possession tight end, fits the seams, just sure-handed. And I think this is a perfect guy to pair into that offense with Tank Dell and all these different wide receivers who can run all different types of routes. Just have a sure-handed guy right in the middle. I think he's going to fit really good in with the Texans. And if you can throw him on your taxi squad for 2 years, keep him in a roster spot until Schultz is gone, I think he's the perfect guy to go and get and really look at his long-term potential.
I like that. This is a guy who we've talked about before. I don't know if you brought him up just now a little while ago, but I want to talk about him a little bit. And this is a guy who, once again, I don't think he's going to he might make a splash year one. I'm not really sure how big that splash might be, but
definitely down the road.
Yeah, definitely down the road I feel like it could. But Xavier Leggett, how do we say his last name? Leggett. I think he, just because Deontay Johnson's there now and Adam Thielen's there now, and
I definitely think he'll still make a splash.
Yeah, I think so too, but
maybe not as big as what we first imagined.
Exactly. But the thing is, him and Bryce Young obviously didn't have a good first year. And I feel like quarterbacks grow a lot in their sophomore year, for freshman to sophomore year. And I feel like having someone like, dude, we just said his name. I forget this. I don't know how to say his last name. Leggett.
I'm pretty sure it's Leggett.
Leggett. Yeah, I feel like he can. I feel like down the road, once Thielen's gone, maybe Deontay Johnson's gone, whoever else. But Bryce Young and Leggett are both very young guys here, and I feel like maybe down the road, these two might become a connection that no one really thought was going to be. But you never know. He could fill a wide receiver 1 role in 3 years. Yeah. And who knows?
there's definitely some different wide receivers like that who I think he eventually overpasses Thielen and Johnson both just based off talent.
Yeah.
First round pick. You don't get much more faith than that out of a team.
Yeah, really.
But I do think it might be a little slow process to get into it. And then down the line, he really transforms into like what we are hoping he becomes, like a top 15, 20 wide receiver.
Also depends on Bryce Young's.
I think Bryce Young will be fine.
I think
it's
so
literally
too.
his rookie year, and he had almost no help.
Yeah, that's why I'm not hating on Bryce Young. You know, I kind of have faith in the guy. A lot of rookie quarterbacks did not perform their first year.
Yeah.
And then are now like balling. You know, so I'm not concerned with Bryce Young, with his rookie year. But I think hopefully he'll rise to the occasion.
Yeah. And then segue into the last part I want to talk about. I feel like the RBs this year, Brooks is the only one who I really feel like will have an immediate impact. But as you go down the list, I feel like there's a solid amount of running backs who, if you can kind of stash them for a couple of years, they'll grow into their own. I think running backs sometimes take a little bit longer to beat out other running backs just because how competitive the position is, how many there are. But a couple of guys I want to mention is Trey Benson with Arizona. I think next year he'll be the starter and could make a very big splash. I think Bucky Irving, the Tampa Bay running back,
that's what I was
who's
gonna say.
a big receiving back. I think he could pair in nicely with White and make a impact down the road. I think Vidal, the Chargers running back, for obvious reason, can make a very big impact for that team down the road. I mean, both their running backs are on a 1 and a 2 year contract. And Vidal has shown some upside throughout his time in college, and they took him in the 6th round, yes, and he is a bit smaller at 5'8", but he is built. He is 215, and he has a very high top end speed when he gets to it. A couple other guys I want to mention were Dylan Laub, the Las Vegas running back, and then
the Raiders.
Rasheen Ali, who all have a clear path to becoming the RB1 in the next couple of years as the other guys on their team fade out or get hurt or whatever.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like running backs, I feel like elite running backs are hard to come by.
And you kind of got to wait on them.
Yeah, and
if
they
you can
take
play
a while.
some of them right in this taxi squad,
Yeah, they
then
take a while. And
they're either elite right out of the gate or they're going to take 3 years.
And I feel like a lot of these guys, like you said, have the clear path to take that RB1 role eventually. Maybe not game one, maybe not week 1, but eventually.
Yeah.
In years to come. Like you named a lot of names here, but like Vidal and Laub, like these guys could become like really good running backs down in the league, but it's just gonna take some time. And that, like you said, the taxi squad and keeping it for a couple years, let them grow, let them learn, let them experience what the NFL is really like and the play style they have to adapt to. But running backs, really good running backs are hard to come by, and I feel like grabbing one now and just taking the chance on it.
Yeah, taking the chance and stashing and seeing how many you can get.
And then eventually you'll be like, damn, like I got this guy who I drafted 2 years ago, but he's now he's a starter. Now he's the running.
That's the fun part of Dynasty.
Yeah. It's trying to find these sleepers and find the diamond in the rough.
But I don't know if a lot of these guys I would pick this year. Maybe Tracy still I'd pick this year and Brooks and Benson, but I don't know about a lot of these other rookies. But definitely Dynasty. Oh, sorry, I was talking about a redraft right there. But definitely Dynasty. I'm looking at a lot of these guys to make impacts down the road. Is there anybody else you want to mention before we...
No, I feel like we really covered everybody.
I feel like we did a good job covering a lot of guys who went in this draft.
And the running backs, the wide receivers. I mean, we didn't really touch quarterbacks. I mean, really the only one is...
I mean...
Besides the obvious...
I don't love the quarterbacks. Let me rephrase. I think who the top quarterbacks are going to be. It's Caleb Williams, then it's Daniels, and then it's May.
Yeah. But like someone like Rattler.
We talked about Rattler earlier in the episode. We talked about Travis early in the episode. Those are the only ones I'm really interested at all in to be even like future starters.
I think it's going to take a bit longer for them though.
Penix, I'm not picking Penix.
Yeah, Penix is just,
Not touching him with a 10-foot pole.
yeah, no thanks.
Maybe
thanks.
Knicks late.
Mhm.
I don't like JJ McCarthy, but I feel like he'd be a good fit for that team. So maybe him. But I'm gonna go wide receiver heavy this year because I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of wide receivers.
Absolutely.
And if I can get Jonathan Brooks or any of the other running backs we talked about, like really sticking out to us for long-term plays, or any of the tight ends I like, then maybe I'll go one of those. But I'm really sticking to wide receiver, and unless I get one of those top 3 quarterbacks, I'm not taking a
Yeah, there's no
quarterback.
need. There's no need.
Maybe Travis.
But there really isn't
Yeah.
a necessity to take these guys.
So yeah, I mean that ends episode 7.
I know, that's kind of wild.
We'll be back next week on air, episode 8, and then we got to figure out kind of what we're doing over the summer. But I think more of the same is to come.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Appreciate all the listeners out there. You're listening to 98.5 WNUW LPS, and have a good rest of your day.